get started, today we're going to talk about using AI to develop software in an extreme programming style. Which is funny because the keynote, when you talk about greenhouse, it hurts because this is the exact effing opposite of greenhouse for the most part. Like I was watching the talk because I'm like, every AI ping, every model trained, everything is hurting the environment. I've come to accept that. I'm hoping our Azure, Amazon, and other data center overlords figure out how to solve the cooling and energy problems and try to be carbon neutral. I'll take that with a grain of salt, and I said very counter to the green ops movement that Sarah was talking about this morning. So, I'm Justin Beall, and today what we are going to talk about is integrating LLMs and agile processes. Enhancements AI offers to XC and some acronyms I came up with. That's one of the cool parts about convention. You get to say, hey, I'm going to make up a bunch of stuff, and I get to go from there. So this is me. I am experienced at the intersection of AI and Agile. I'm a staff engineer at a company called REM right now. They are an extreme programming focused software consultancy. Well, typically what I do is I go into a client, and I know there's a lot of coaches and scrum masters and product owners here. I'm at the bottom level. I typically go in and hit the ground. I do upskilling with client devs, TDD, I care program almost all day, every day. Most of the stuff I'm going to show you here, though, my clients don't let me do because they're worried about their data. So that is an ongoing concern as you work through this. So right now I'm working at a bank where they allow us to use GitHub Copilot. They have Microsoft Copilot, but I can't go out to OpenAI. I can't use a lot of the stuff I'm going to show you in this presentation. But even those tools, you can do a lot. Oh, too far. Yeah. Why would we even want to have AI inside of our software development life cycles, right? What are some of the modern challenges we have? Who ever has had a project run late? Who has had it run over cost? Who has had issues with resources, which I hate the effing word. I'd rather you call them meat widgets, staff, humans, heartbeats, pick your terms. But you have staffing deficiencies and all other things that come with software development. It's not just a, hey, this is the Gantt chart. We're going to have our traditional waterfall. We're going to gather requirements, we're going to pre-product owners, we're going to do development, 10 developers, QA still in there, and then we're going to release in 6 months. Beautiful plan, right? Never works that way. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to maximize, the use of AI in our extreme programming, our Scrum, our Kanban, pick whatever framework or agility practices you have. The idea is to take a step back and think, how can AI supplement this or replace it, or how can I include AI in my product? We're going to go through categorizing and event horizons and some other things. Right here, from user stories to development. What I'm going to try to do real quick, we'll see if the demo guys are our favorite, but I'll show you how to do some of this stuff real quick. So I have a very fancy assistant that I built in OpenAI. I have a video for this in case this doesn't work. But OpenAI lets you create basically RAG models, which is retrieval augmented generation, which not just the LLM, I'm feeding data into it. What I have over here, if I come to my Chrome, and I go to right here, so this is my product owner. He's a bot, right? And what he has in it, he has a very fancy prompt. So if we look at, this is the whole prompt. And what it does is it scrapes a trouble board, it scrapes the code base, it knows about the product, it knows the product definition, metrics, things of that nature. It has all this information inside of its retrieval context. So what I can do over here is, I have this Trello board, and I'm looking at my backlog here, essentially, right? And I have this app that I made, which is asking me to sign in. Yeah, let's go to it. So here's the app. So this Trello board represents this app, the things that are done, the things that I'm working on right now, and the to-do, right? So very simple Kanban board, or however you want to do this. But one thing I noticed is that when I'm looking at this, oh, that's my logo. When I'm looking at this, the send button is above the chat, and I don't like that. so what I want to do is I want to come over here, and if I was a product owner or something like this, I have already checked this out, but I'm going to say, I would like to focus on the chat interface. Right now, I have a typo here. Right now, the send button input is on top of the chat. This does not seem right to me. I feel like the chat should be at the bottom. Could you help me with writing a user story for this chunk of work? So then I'm going to send that. Exactly. Let's try again. All right, so I might have changed some things up. Okay, let's try one more time. There we go. Fantastic. But you see right there where it's saying running retrieval? What it's doing, it's digging into all of its context here, and it's creating a user story for us. So it's saying, hey, relook at chat and input send button. It's got a business value. Enhancing user experience by aligning with common chat application layouts, making interaction more intuitive and familiar. A job to be done. As a user, I want to have the chat input and send button at the bottom of the chat window so I can easily and quickly send a message without looking around. So basically all the things we would have in a traditional user story without having to go too deep. And what I can do then, I would take this right here, I would go over to my Trello, and we're going to add part, and I should copy some things. Where was that? This one right here. I'm going to copy the story. I'm going to put it over here, and I'm just going to add everything to it, because that's, at this point, this would be the manual process. People talk about agents and other things coming, but there's still a little bit of manual magic here. So I'll paste all that there, and all of a sudden I have a, oh crap, I have a user story an engineer could work on. Does this look at least as good as some of the user stories you guys see? Yeah. All right, who here is either as an engineer or a product put a thing on Jira that's just a one line? Yes. Then, imagine I have a story as an engineer. I could come over here, I could copy all of this, and I use a IDE called Cursor, which is very similar to GitHub Copilot. It's a AI IDE is what they call it. So it's instead of just the plugin and adding some AI chat, the whole development environment is built around AI. So if I come over here, and what I want to also do is I have another little problem. Can you help me by implementing this user story? So I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to paste all of that. And then if I do Command Enter, it's going to search the whole code base. Right? See how it's searching files, going to go through some stuff. And eventually you're going to come up with the solution. This is a softball. I'm just asking it to move a UI widget from the top to the bottom. But it can get a lot more complicated. There's still like a fuzzy, they call it the jagged frontier, where you're going to start figuring out where it lies to you and what it can do. But I know something like just moving a widget around a screen, this is going to be able to work. This actually used, where's that? GPT-4o when it's calculating this. And I can see right here, it says, hey, your message component updated. Okay, so I'm going to take that right here, and I'm going to come over here, I'm going to paste, I'm going to save, and then if I look at my localhost, which is over here, the chat is on the bottom. Cool? Never having to write a line of code. Granted, I copied and pasted it, but that's where we're at. And then if part of this too, when we talk about XP and things of that nature, we want automated testing, we want all this stuff. One thing that happens sometimes is when you move things from an AI environment to your code, it'll break things. So if you don't have testing, it's very hard to trust what is going on here. So I can come over here, let me stop the server, I'm going to say yarn test, and what's going to happen is we're going to see this. Most of the tests in this application have also been written by AI. So we are at, let me see, almost 90-some% code coverage. I don't know, somewhere around there, right? That's useful. And then I'm just going to say move chat. Git push. And what we'll see in a little bit is going to go through a CI/CD pipeline in GitHub, and it'll deploy. And later on at the end of the presentation, we'll look at the production, and we'll see that it's there. Any questions? Did I hear wow?
I have one question.
Yeah.
What data did you feed it?
It has, so we'll go over that in a little bit, but it has almost like an MLOps pipeline. So when I run a GitHub action, it goes out to Trello, scrapes that whole board. It goes into the code base, and it uses, basically puts everything into a giant markdown file and knows about the code base. It has, let me see what else. So I have a list of things it has. It has a product definition, which we'll talk about. So if we go over here, I have the product owner data. Basically, from here on down is what is all inside of that bot. Now I have one that I use to generate personal content and other things, but it's got hundreds of blog posts I wrote, it's got video transcripts, it's got a lot of my personal information, it's got everything from my LinkedIn, my resume, so on and so forth, and I use that to help generate blog posts and things of that nature. But yeah, it's got, like I said, so it's got like a product definition here. A web platform for engaging with specialized open AI assistants across various fields. So it knows about itself. Okay? Any other? Yeah. Ask questions as we go. If anybody has any questions, be sure to ask. Yes?
Can you get it to test itself?
Kinda. Let's go back. So there's also this idea of what calling continuous alignment testing. So if I go into my product owner in basically my GitHub Actions, but it's a simplified MLOps pipeline, what it does is there's this idea of repeat tests. So if I was to kick this off, and it's got my key, oh that's the wrong key, do I have it in my buffer still? Right there. So if I was to kick this off, it's gonna run a suite of tests I had 5 times, or 10 times, or 100 times, or pick what you want, right? And what that's gonna do is make sure that I continuously align that. One of the things is what product do you work for? What stories are in progress? What sort of things inside the LLM chat that I ask this product owner? And it's gonna run these tests that many at a time, and I'm gonna get like a percentage. It's either gonna be like 80, 90%, because tweaking a prompt, doing small things, changing the data files can have a dramatic impact on your outcomes for some of these AI solutions.
Is that just existing tests, or is a new test been created for the story?
So this particular story already had some React testing library through Jest. So it had a bunch of UI tests. In addition, in that pipeline, there's an end-to-end test. I don't check the location of the send button. I guess you could have. But the way I have it set up in Cursor, there's this idea of a pre-prompt. Whenever I ask anything through this environment, and I think Copilot came out with the same thing, these are the rules that it tries to follow. Work like an expert in extreme programming. Prefer test-driven development. Prefer functional programming when possible. Do not write tests for protected or private functions. And then I have specific ones for Python, Node, and how electronics work.
And so essentially, with specific to this product, you're essentially trying to replace a product owner into an AI-generated product owner, yeah?
Not replace Augment. Yes.
Question is, the example that you showed that is a very straightforward thing to do, which is very specific to UI or UX.
Mm-hmm.
Then what about if there are stories that need to be created which are more architectural or more technical? Will the system be able to go into the architectures, identify bottlenecks or identify improvements or version bins and those kind of things as well? Or is it just more like from you?
It will do some of that. It'll give suggestions. I'm trying to see, I think it was one of these Hello World ones, right? So like right here was like setting up everything in Next.js and stuff like that. So hey, I want to do a React app. Where can I host it? Write me a user story for that. And I wrote this. A little bit more detail than that, but so basically the infrastructure and things that I've chosen were already planned. We'll get a little bit more into, depending upon how far we get. There is a product that the company that I work for creates called Apex, And I think it's just
Existing user stories as well, is it?
what was that?
Your training data set.
Oh, not originally. As I go, it scrapes that Trello where it pulls everything into it. So it's using ChatGPT 4.0 under the hood. So it's got everything ChatGPT. It just knows more because it pulled from it. Like when we did that search, it said running retrieval, and then it actually pulls things back, looks at all of it. Prior to that, and we'll get into this in a larger planning horizon, there's this product called Apex that I helped build. And what that does is you have a chat with it, and it helps you build a product. Basically, you have an idea, you chat for a while, and then basically you bring out there we go. It'll basically build almost a small business plan. And right here, as I chatted with it, the technologies, front-end development with Next.js, back-end with Fast API, AI machine learning, database management with PostgreSQL, which I ended up picking Mongo, but that's cool. Authentication with Google, cloud computing. All these technologies, before I even started creating that product owner, I already decided. And it knows about my architecture. It actually has this whole document, everything that's in here is actually a part of that product owner. So like a vision statement, right? Although on Keynote a few days ago, they said, hey, add the 3 C's in there. I might go back and try that. We'll see. Any other questions before we move on?
Why still doing it manually to Trello? There's an API.
There is a human capital cost. As I mentioned, most of the time, like, companies don't want me to shove all their crap into OpenAI. They don't like that. You know, so I'm trying to figure out where that balance is, but this is a personal project where I've been able to go wild.
So I see, okay, that is both, we can do the formatter, that's the part of the job, or better, like, if you imagine the plan, like you're saying, more waterfall style, just know about this domain, create stories, okay. Do you have something in place to implement the iterative side? So normally, you are even in a classic Scrum based demo, the feedback, maybe the feature that actually was completed is not quite right.
Yeah.
So there is that learning. How does this block learn?
I eventually would love to include those sort of things, right? Imagine you had customer feedback. You had
Because the
stakeholder
right now
feedback.
is not and that thing was right or was
Yeah, so I mean, you could have QA results, QE results, whatever you call it. You could have all that go back into it and say, hey, this story brought in. What you saw was just a one-shot conversation. Most of the stuff that I don't just send one chat. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I'll have a conversation, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I have something that I actually work on. Like I said, the moving of the chat was a softball thing that I looked up last night. I'm like, that'll be an easy thing to do. But it can get a lot more intense. It can, like I said, you have a conversation, even with the Copilot stuff, the cursor that you saw, right? That I can have a conversation with the code that I can say, I don't like that you did a for loop there. Can you make a function? I don't like that, like, why didn't you write tests for this? Like you were saying, right? Can you make sure I had tested this in the right place? And it'll get you like 80-90% of the way there most of the time. Anybody else? Feel free to ask. As I mentioned, you can name things when you speak. So I said AIXP, I don't have a trademark out for this. We'll see if I get it. But artificially intelligent extreme programming. Let's combine, let's think about how we can apply AI at all of our XP values. Continuous feedback and improvement. Always updating our models, always making sure we have the correct data, interacting, making sure we are aligned. Customer-centric collaboration. So I have a couple of videos that I posted where I do mock interviews with ChatGPT, just over voice, right? Courage to innovate. It is very easy just to do the same thing we have always done. What it takes courage to do is take a step back and say, is there a way I can be better at this? Like sometimes I talk to people who use AI and they're like, what used to take me an hour shoots me 5 minutes, I'm afraid to tell my boss. Like seriously, right? Like some of these things like creating meeting summaries, sending things out to customers, even business proposals and things of that nature. what sometimes takes hours can be done in 5 minutes. This whole presentation here, I fed it into a different LLM that I have, it's my personal one, and it was like 7+ million tokens I used to create this presentation. Which we'll talk about tokens in a little bit if we get that far, but all the pictures are made on Midjourney, by the way. So AI is in habits, just like I was saying. We want to use AI for insights to drive better decisions and enhancements in our planning, coding, and testing. Okay? Did I actually split? I thought there was like the turn it up to 11. I thought I had a slide here that had the old school, what is it, dial for XD, like, hey, turn it up to 11. That's some of the concepts here. Again, make it acronyms and we'll go over them, but I imagine 3 planning horizons when you look at most software development. You have, and I hate to say it, from Sage did a little bit right, but they did it fucking terribly. So you have a 3-month planning horizon, that's your vision. You have a iteration, which is 1 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending upon how you do it. And then you have your actual execution, which is what you do on your day-to-day. So as we think about AI and how can it help us, we're going to think about those planning horizons. Key acronyms, AI, artificially intelligent string programming. The cool thing is I help ChatGPT help me come up with acronyms for these things. I love it. And I have the slides will be in the Slack chat, and I have a lot of articles and things if anybody wants to read deeper into these things. Well, this right here is what I was talking about in Apex. Well, the first thing I did was something called AI Do. It was just me playing around with it, just what we saw here. But this is something that Artium has made, I helped build, but it's called Apex. And what it does is you have a conversation, and then it starts filling in these boxes magically. Does anybody have an idea right now for a product or something like that?
I was thinking if the answer didn't work, how about having a cooperative cloud solution for people that want to save energy together, rather than having Amazon? Does that work as a business idea?
Okay. I will post it on LinkedIn. I will create an Apex for that.
Sure.
Okay? And we'll see what it goes through. But normally what you do is on this, they give you, it's free to use. You get a token count of 2 million. I just create new Google accounts and keep using it. I've talked to them about this, but on this particular thing, I have 4 different products I made, and even like my website I have, like my consulting website, also has one of these, and if you go to, it helped me build this. Most of the content, most of the services, that's all stuff I've written, but, so it helped me build my website too. So you can go to this thing for free, and I'll share a link at the end, and turn an idea from a concept to an actionable plan. All right, so we just talked about that. Again, strategic product definition made accessible is what we say. There's a link to it. I actually have a YouTube video about 30 minutes long. We're actually using Apex to create something. So if anybody's interested, I see people take pictures. Now, adapt. Adapt is what we looked at. That's sprint or iteration or whatever you don't like to call it because you don't use the word agile anymore. Your block of time. And that's basically when we're planning out our chunks of work for the next lead degree, right? We have typically a planning meeting, we have daily stand-ups, we have retrospectives, we have all those. There's no reason you couldn't take Copilot as long as it's safe and people are okay with it, record all that crap, feed that into a bot, and ask it, hey, what did we do yesterday? What is the team concerned about in retro? What are our customers worried about if we were hooked up to a customer database or CRM or something like that where we had customer feedback? All the user research is not replacing, it's augmenting. So I think of more of a cyborg model as opposed to a replacement. Maybe 5 to 10 years when AGI or whatever comes out, it'll replace us, but right now, it can't copy and paste some things. Humans are still needed. Lean is enhanced agile programming, and that's what you saw with some of the things I was doing, right? I took the whole user story, I don't typically do that at work, pasted it and then implemented it. I have a video, I think it's down here, where I actually do something similar. I take a screenshot of the app and say, write me a playwright test for this, and it does. Screenshot. to code. And then, as we go through this though, when we think about those 3 horizons, there's also almost 3 categories of things that we are doing. When we are using AI, we are either generating content, and AI. We are enhancing our processes, such as, hey, now I'm going to talk to this bot, or I'm going to go to this thing, I'm going to use a lot of CRM softwares now even have AI chat built into them and stuff. I'm going to integrate some tool into my process. And then there's the actual product, right? This is where more traditional machine learning type things come in, like where you hear normal ML and if you're actually using OpenAI as a product and things of that nature. But when we talk about those 3 horizons, we want to talk about these 3 categories. So that way we have clarity on what we're discussing. And I have a nice little picture here that I include the language. Yes. Oh, at least that. I'm going to read it if somebody wants it. But just a 9 box, think about if you're taking a step back with your team, you want to say, hey, how can we include AI? Boom, start drawing a picture, start talking, right? Are we trying to improve how we're executing our daily practices? Are we trying to include AI into our product? Are we trying to figure out how to plan better for our product increments, which is terrible. I work in a stage shop right now as a consultant. So we have these intersecting frameworks, right? So we have this increment, we have this iteration, and we have this execution. And we're running out of time. Oh, here. Diagram time. Beyond generative AI, so if you start thinking about things AI can do besides just text generation, like I said, every one of these little background images here, this was generated by Digit. You can also do that in ChatGPT. You can say, draw me a picture of a Scottish person on a castle. And then, who knows a little bit, right? But you can do that. Right? There's also voice. You can clone somebody's voice in 30 effing seconds nowadays. Terrifying, right? There's video generations on the way. Is it Runway can do like a 30-second video? OpenAI Connoisseur, which is supposed to be a 2-minute video like 6 months ago, but then they ran into some issues because it turns out when you say use chat to make video, people don't say show me puppies, they usually go to darker places in the web. Another thing to remember too is the timeline here, right? Computers, the first real effing computer was less than 100 years ago. So think about how quickly our environment is moving. So around, this is like 2017 or so, this is when Google released their Transformer architecture paper. And then from 5+ years now, the world has changed. Literally, it is a software that if you have not run into it, I'm sure you have somebody in your family who's a nut about AI, or a friend, or somebody just like crypto was. My brothers tell me to still invest in crypto. They are fanatics, and there are people within the last 2 years, people have become these big AI nerds like me. Basically, we have machine learning started off in 2000. That's when we were doing, hey, you can look at all of my information, my privacy stuff that we're now blocking, and I can figure out which apps to show you. Then we have neural networks, which is in, actually they started back in 1958. But deep learning is when we started doing images and stuff like that. Hot dog, not hot dog. And then transformers in the world change. Machine learning, again, campaign effectiveness, this is actually including into your product if you're doing machine learning. You can actually say, hey, if all of you individuals here, I am marketing a line of shoes, and they're targeted for males, and basically machine learning and all that stuff based upon your profiles, and they can say, hey, I'm only going to target you. You, because you have the shoes in the profile. Neural networks are basically huge pattern recognition networks, right? They got a bunch of fancy layers with a bunch of weights in them, and you have an input and an output. And that feeds the next one. It turtles all the way down, and then they go back and they learn about themselves. But this is how we do images, right? So if you ever use Google Lens or any of these software where you can take a picture, somebody was saying they were taking pictures of buildings here, and then asking ChatGPT what this building is, and it was coming back with answers. Which is funny because I was walking around 2 nights ago. I don't know what this effing building is. And I learned about this app, like, that would have been a cool idea. Next, we have generative AI. This is where the boom came, right? This is all of a sudden, it's not that the other ones were bad, it's that everybody speaks or has a way to communicate or something like that. And what Gen AI did was make this available for everyone. You don't have to be a nerd to go to ChatGPT. You need internet connection and to be able to type. That's it. Those are your requirements. Yeah, let's do this, because I think, what time are we supposed to end? Do I have 10 minutes left? Is that what I'm saying? Sorry, quick about 12:15. Is that right? No.
Yeah, I think we can check.
Noon? Okay, noon, fantastic. So 15 minutes, let's go through quickly. Introduction to LLM modes. Another idea is, kind of like what you saw when I played with that OpenAI assistant, that's at the top end of complexity, right? ChatGPT is at the very bottom, right? So think about like a Stone Age tool. A knife is way better than your hand, right? And then eventually you get to modern chef knives that are very fancy and have like diamond blades and all that other. At the first level, we would have our single shot. Like you go to ChatGPT and you ask a question. It has no context. All it has is just the base data that it has gone through. It's great for brainstorming. You can ask it questions, but the best way I find to use this is just to have a conversation with it. Giving it, they call it one shot, and then just expecting them to be a perfect result, that's where things get fuzzy, you get like very generic things. I used to write bedtime stories like 2 years ago, that's how I started out with this. I would go to ChatGPT and write a bedtime story for my kids with blah, 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 unicorns and there's a dragon. And then it would spit out something, and after a half a dozen times of that, my older daughter was like, Dad, is this another fucking ChatGPT story? she was 17 at the time. But I was like, oh, yeah, it is, right? Recently, OpenAI released O1 Preview. It's not able to integrate into the assistants and things like that. I played with it a little bit. It's slower. It's supposed to be able to count. We'll see. I don't know if anybody's ever heard this. LLMs can't count. So they call it the strawberry problem. How many R's are in strawberry? If you ask ChatGPT that, it won't always get it right. It's such an easy problem to solve for a human. LLM? Nope. It spits out what it thinks is next. It's just looking at the next likely word. There are number in strawberry. Now you have custom GPT. I don't like these as much, but ChatGPT offers this way for, I would say, less technical people to upload files, do things, and then share those with anybody. So I taught a test-driven development using AI course, and I created a custom GPT that was a course assistant that anybody could go to and ask it, and it had a prompt that says that, hey, don't give the answer, walk the student through the test-driven development process. Write a test first, do this, and I uploaded all the course material to it, and the students can use that at any time. Then you start getting at to where you have these OpenAI assistants. And one thing I like about them, and Vertex has agents now, you can control them with APIs, there's consistent interactions. Like I said, you can do what they call tool calls, we're going to upload data, you can do lots of fancy things. I could have been that ChatGPT thing that when I ask about a user story and I say it's done, then execute this tool call. And then that tool call can go out to Trello and use the story, come back with a response, yes, no, and then the chat will continue. So you can do all these sort of things. It's still manual. But it's very great for prototyping and personal use. This is not something you want to use at an enterprise. It costs money, it's expensive, it's not secure unless you have like your own private Azure cloud and things of that nature. And then you start getting into what would be like true advanced RAG models. And this is where OpenAI basically takes everything on the upload, they vectorize it, they store it, they do magic. I don't know, like you could probably Google search it. That's secret. I've actually written applications for other companies where we actually do custom RAG models. So we'll still take that OpenAI, but we'll go out to a Pinecone database. We've done graph databases. What you'll do is like before coming in, you'll use an LLM as a security guard. So like Llama guard, like it's very complex, and this is where your enterprise level is though. So like I'm working at right now, and they do have a AI lab where they have a private Azure cloud, and everything's there, and they go through this rigorous process. It is still slow, archaic, and I don't like it, but they're trying. For a big bank, that's also. Now as we go through, we think about our vision, right? We want to harness AI for refined strategic planning. Who here has some kind of vision statement or true north statement like we saw on Tuesday's keynote? I see not a ton of people. But what you can do is you can go into ChatGPT in like 30 seconds, at least get something, right? Maybe a minute. And then start with that. What it outputs is not going to be fantastic, but it is a good starting point. About 80%. Remove the rapidly evolving and the changing world. Remove the flags that you see. Remove the fingers, as I said. So then we can align development goals with market realities. Like I said, if we had a CRM or a user research and people are asking about certain features, we could use that data inside of a chat interface, and a product owner, a stakeholder, a CEO can say, what are our customers saying right now? You don't have to go out to a dashboard and just look at a bunch of sentiment numbers and have no idea. It'll tell you like, okay, customer X said this and they're very dissatisfied. Tell me more about customer X experience. Why are they dissatisfied? And then as long as your CRM or whatever has information about that, your ticketing system, it might be able to give you some pretty good insights. As I mentioned, this is just this is our 3-month planning horizon. I don't mess around with this as much because I'm more evolution architecture. I normally have a direction and I go, I'll build you software in a week. And then we'll move it after that. Apex, we talked about Apex already, so that was a cool one. What is this? Relevance to customer problems, right? Yeah, I didn't format this slide all the way. That's cool. Let's move to that. Responsive and dynamic development cycles, right? That's one thing I do not like when we talk about traditional Scrum. When somebody says, the sprint is fixed, don't ass up into the sprint. I'm like, that is the most effing stupid thing I've ever heard. We are supposed to be adapting to change, not having any waterfalls. But there might be reasons to. But usually that adaptation comes with, I add some, I remove some. Traditionally, what we all experience is the addition only. I can do A, B, C. Oh yeah, C, D are also a must-have. So the engine of agile iterations, real-time responsiveness. So this is kind of what I showed you, right, with that Trello board. Everything on this Trello board has been generated by AI. I had to move things, I added labels, I do all stuff. On a personal project, even this, I come back in a couple days, and I'll go back Monday, and I'm like, what the hell was I working on? And I had a nice little board.
Sorry, this is not on this specific slide, but on the general thing. So, with the space that you have, if you have really the chance to use all the things that you know, yeah, it's really ready. Is there any functionality, anything that you think will still rely on human creativity and your skill
Yes.
right now? And it's okay if it's
No, that's
it's a
absolutely.
question.
GDG right now, 4.0 and all of them have cut off of October 2023. The world doesn't exist after that to them. Any modern framework, any modern library, anything that you've seen today, none of that will be in GPT. Then when it comes to other sort of things, right, like I said, there's almost like this jagged frontier of as you go, you're like, oh, it can do this, it can do this. It doesn't do that. I'm gonna do that stuff. So you gotta figure out where that is. For me, I use it to generate my slides. I use it to help edit videos. I use it to help write articles. I use it to help write code. I use it to help almost every professional task I do almost involves AI now. And that's what I was saying when Sarah was talking about green, like in the background, like, oh, shoot.
So I missed the thing that you said where it's that the look at the future.
So it works well at creative, but what I find is it takes a junior and makes them a document. It takes a writer like me who doesn't write much, it makes me have acceptable articles. But about that, I would say mid-level, any human expert is going to the bar surpass it. It raises the bar, but then when I write code a lot, I still use it because it's got a plugin that helps give me assist and stuff, but I don't really need it. It just helps. But a junior could do something like I did, and it's going to help them be more productive. It might not help them retain things as much, but it's going to enable them to do more things. But they're not going to be able to do stuff, I think, like you were saying, deciding architecture, doing all this stuff. You can have that conversation, but I know that Vercel is great for React applications. I know that, what was it? What's right? IO is great for deploying container apps like I do for my backend. So I know all these things and I set them on. There's a lot of stuff that I know that I just use to augment. I was asking me, how do I whitelist my IP address in MongoDB Atlas so my backend can talk to it? And they walk me through this, go to MongoDB. This thing, go to the yes, that's right. I have to whitelist it here. And it doesn't click buttons to do things. They're talking about making agents, but it's not like that. Supposedly Apple Intelligence is going to automate all your apps and make the world a better place. Who knows? Role-playing ideation, that's like what you're saying. So I have a video that I did where I have a user persona that I created and all that stuff, and then I have a mock interview with it. You can talk to your customers even as a proxy. It's not as good as the real thing, but it's a good start. Meeting summaries. Does anybody send meeting notes to every single meeting and all that stuff? Yes. Yes. That's why I said, well, it used to take 30 minutes sometimes. Like, oh, I'm going to review what Copilot did. I don't like that line. Send. Right? And everything else is good. Design spiking, right? I don't know. We got 5 minutes. I'll do this real quick and we'll probably have to wrap up. Has anybody seen Claude artifacts yet? Okay, so if I go to Claude, which is a competitor to ChatGPT, they have something called artifacts. Let's accept dog cookies. And I say, I want a React application designed with Mooly that is a tic-tac-toe game. Boom. I'll send that. And without even thinking, I told the technology. I own PLUI because I'm familiar with that. I could have said Bootstrap, I could have said Angular, I could have said Vue. It's writing all this out. Very fancy, right? Does all of this. Why did it not enable the artifact? I don't know if this is a... Oh. Can you display this as an artifact? So I don't know if this is a European thing. We'll see. I didn't try this. So it's supposed to, at least in the Americas. Oh, there we go. Finally did it. Okay, that's what I'll say. But yeah, tic-tac-toe game. Winner.
Maybe because we couldn't use
What was that?
Maybe because we couldn't use
Yeah. Oh, wow. I gotta adjust to the locale. Is that it? What do you see? Right in 30 seconds or so, if we look at the code, it generated all this. It has a preview. Now, if you were trying to iterate on a design, think about things like all of our software that we use, like Miro, anything to do UX. You can just quickly say, hey, I want to see a page for the login and Google One. I want to see a dashboard. Can you show me an example of a dashboard? Or think about as you're trying to prototype things that a UI UX person would take hours and come back and be like, I don't like the color. Can we make this green? And then they will go back, come back to you like, yeah, here's green. And you're like, yeah, I meant green, but maybe more like sea green. They go back and come back, and or at least they're typing away the keywords ferociously. Now we got a green tic-tac-toe game. And that is about wrapping us up. Last thing I want to do real quick is if we come over here, this is the live production app. If I reload, please be on the bottom. Thank you very much. We are at time that I will be around, ask questions. Does anybody have a question? So we have a minute or so until you're supposed to get out. I've already asked, can I?
Do you see any dangers with the arrests?
Oh, absolutely. With this particular thing, I set up a CI/CD pipeline, like I said, and I wanted to have a CI environment, and I know Vercel supports preview environments, and I asked ChatGPT to write me a GitHub action to spin it up, spin it down. I put it in my GitHub action, ran it, it spun it up, and then deleted everything. I was like, why? Like, I know better than this. I know so better than this. I wiped out my infrastructure. Right, not a lot for this, but imagine if you were doing infrastructure at code at a bank or something like that. Blindly run the command, boom, system down. Hopefully you have a process over that to test it out.
I wanted to do you think that this is going to instill gene regardless?
Oh.
Where do you think a senior developer in 10 years' time is going to have the skills that a senior developer would have now because they're using software?
Yes and no. So it is up to us as organizations to still hire junior developers so they become senior developers. Just because this thing can do this doesn't mean I don't need an intern anymore, because that intern, that junior developer, that mid is an investment. Like I said, there is a point where you get up to like average, and then that's as far as the LLM goes.
If you're going to teach them, so you're saying that you're using this as an assistant, that's because of your prior knowledge.
Yeah.
And you're going to teach them what's in your prior knowledge so that they
Yeah.
can get to your level and use the...
I pair program every day. If you want to get to my level, work with me, right? But in addition, I use these AI tools and other things. And like I said, so when we go into organizations, we also do what's called enablement. I work with product owners, scrum masters, individual engineers, sometimes stakeholders, but we normally have, they call them CXOs, which are like chief execution officers on the project that manage the stakeholders. But pretty much from everywhere on down, if somebody will work with me, I will. And that's what it comes down to, that whole upskilling.
How can I issue with just using what's being generated as opposed to original? Are we actually able to use it in our products?
There's a blurry line there. If you copy, paste, that is not copyrightable. If you copy, tweak, paste, copyrightable. You can't take the raw outputs from an LLM and say that is copyrightable. And I know there are laws and things that people are trying to figure out how to safely enable for image generation, video generation, copyright of text and voice. Like we're trying to figure that out.
You mentioned some of your clients were using what you're doing, you're having it yourself, which is fine. Were you able to tell us one of your clients were also?
Security, right? Hey, take my bank data and put it in somebody else's file. Take my healthcare data, put it in somebody else's file. No, they want everything local. So that's usually where the challenge comes, like the OpenAI framework, the Google agents that I said, all those things, usually you can purchase private clouds and interact with those, but you're talking a significant investment, and most larger organizations are just starting to go on that journey to around before they're like, and then Azure and AWS are now providing isolated clouds for people with these LLMs where it's still technically in their network, so now they're starting to play around with it.
And do these LLMs learn from what you ask?
No. They can, but no. They call that reinforced human learning feedback or something like that, RHLF. So when OpenAI actually trains a model, they have a raw model, they have a bunch of people say, this is a good response, this is a bad response, and it affects the weights. But what I did with that, pulling in all the data and stuff like that, that can be used to retrain the model,